Today is December 13th, 2023. My name is Joe Reingold, and I am here interviewing Devora Rubin. Hi, Devora. Good afternoon.
Hi.
So, Devora, tell us about your family, what you know about your grandparents and your parents, where they were from, where they lived, and how did they get here, and just a little bit about what they did, perhaps, for a living.
My father was born in Galveston, Texas in 1898. He graduated Rice Institute in 1920, fourth class. So he was basically American, but he had the Jewish work ethic, except for the ones who study all the time. It's very hard for me to go back and talk about things in any kind of order, so I hope I don't mix
okay.
you up. My mother was born in Poland, and my older sister may remember some of the things that they said, but I don't really remember. She came to Beaumont, Texas at the age of 2. So basically she was American. She picked out the English names for all her 6 siblings. Each one of them had 6 siblings born in America. My father had 3 born in Europe, 5 born in Europe, 3 of whom died, and his family brought 2 children to America. One lived in New York and one in El Paso. And the rest of my family all lived in Houston. I had 31 cousins, 19 on one side, 12 on the other, and we were a big family in Houston.
Did most of them come through Galveston?
They came before the Galveston movement.
Oh.
When the ship would come in, my Zeta would go, it was legend what they used to do. They'd get all dressed up and go to meet the ship. Mm-hmm. And if the people were interested in living in a kosher home, my Zeta took them home because he had a 3rd-story room where he kept the visitors overnight, and they looked up, they got together. The Jewish community was very small, spread far around because Texas is a big place. I met a woman once who told me the Jews in El Paso, the young people, gave a dance to raise money for the victims of the flood. The flood was in 2000 in Galveston. You know how far away El Paso is from Galveston? I believe it was even further when you went by horse and buggy, I'm sure. And the Galveston community benefited by help from all the Jews all over Texas, which is an amazing thing.
Right.
I don't know what else is of interest to tell you about that.
Well, where were you living as a very young child?
We lived in Houston.
In Houston?
Yeah, I was born and brought up in Houston, and all my siblings were born and brought up in Houston. I'm one of 4. And we were brought up in a very Zionist household. I remember somebody coming when I was a small child, and I didn't even know my father had a gun, but somebody went with him to the cabinet, and they took out a gun, and they sent it to the Palmach. I think it was Billy Goldberg, but I wouldn't swear. I was a little child, and But we were always Zionists. First thing my family said when I married and moved to Dallas is, have you joined a shul? And have you joined Hadassah? I had 2 aunts living in Israel, and they were both involved with Zionist affairs. One worked for the JNF, another one was living there, and whose grandchild, by the way, was shot on October 7th in his kibbutz, and came and shot him in his bed. And that was his caretaker, that Jimmy you saw all over the news, that was his caretaker. He had Parkinson's, and he was 80 years old, and he was my second oldest cousin's oldest child. Because you know, in a big family, you have one side of the family, they're older, and the other side of the family, they're younger. So some of my cousins on my mother's side are my children's ages. And I already forgot the question.
No, that's okay. So tell me some of your experiences growing up in Houston. What kind of things did you do for different activities, and what were you involved in?
I had a wonderful teenage. I've compared it to Anne Frank and Maggie First, who are exactly my age. I was AZA's sweetheart. Went to dances, ordered the cookies for the boys, was pals with all of them. I didn't want to date all of them. One time they pressured me to go out with so-and-so, and I said, I wouldn't have gone out with him if I wasn't AZA's sweetheart. You didn't make me promise. Very independent, you know. But it was fun. I had a real interesting, fun childhood, teenage, very lucky to be where I was. And we didn't realize, those of us, we went to the movies, we saw some movies, what was going on in Europe. Who could believe those things? You just wouldn't believe people could do those things. So gradually you learned, what was going on in the world. But we were always Zionists, and 1948 was a big year because I was president of the IZFA, which was Intercollegiate Zionist Federation of America, and I don't know how long that organization lasted. It was for college kids, and I was president of that or something. I was something with that, I remember. And we got Israel. That was our goal. We were working for Israel on the campus, and there weren't a lot of us, but there were just enough of us.
Where were you? What campus?
I started at Rice, but I went to the University of Texas because I didn't want to stay home when all my friends went off to school.
Were they all going to UT?
Yeah.
Austin?
Yeah. Peggy Lerner, she was my friend, and a bunch of them, they all went, that whole gang, they all went to Texas, so I don't want to be home. And besides which, my mother had all those little aunts and all those little nieces and nephews in the house all the time. And it was hard to study. In Rice, you had to study. If you wanted to make a B, you had to study. If you wanted to make an A, you really had to knock yourself out. It was a hard school then, and it's hard now.
Right. So what did you take up? What did you study at UT? And what did you do after college?
At Texas, I just was a normal child, a normal person. I was a sorority girl, and I wasn't gung-ho sorority because I could see the snob appeal. The girl that came in next year after me would say, well, we might not want to take her, and then I remember what they said about her the year before, and I wasn't into that snob stuff. So the sorority was okay, but I did live in the sorority house. It was cheaper, and it was, Jewish girls liked to be with Jewish girls. They didn't care about going out with Gentile boys in those days. I can't name two in my whole sorority that went out with Gentile boys. And then when I found out the dances were so mixed, I thought, well, what do they need those sororities for? That's where we met all the Jewish boys and everything.
Yeah.
So
what did you do after college?
Well, I never earned any money. My husband, we married young. I was 19, Louis was 21. He had been a year and a half in the Navy, 2 years previously at Rice and 2 years after Rice. And he was 21, and he had graduated Rice and spent a year and a half in the service, and we got married, and we thought we were all grown up. And I moved to Dallas, and I joined everything that I had a Jewish affiliation because that was the way my family was.
Okay, so I want to ask you, why did you guys pick Dallas? What were your considerations?
Louis was born here, and he wouldn't live anywhere else.
Oh, okay.
He just wouldn't live. He had an job offer at Humble Oil, who was known for not hiring Jewish engineers, but he had a job offer at Humble in Houston, and he didn't want to move to Houston. He wanted to live in Dallas. He always wanted to live in Dallas.
How did you guys? You didn't tell us how you met.
Oh well. It was family. It was the third blind date. We'd have met eventually, because our families sort of knew each other. Rosalie and Gertie Ackerman were Lewis's cousins. They lived next door, and they were very close. And I don't know, you don't remember the Ackermans, any of you. You all are too young. Anyway.
I know some Ackermans.
And Jeanette Ackerman, and Edward Ackerman, the Ackerman family that's involved with the Holocaust. That's them. They're related, and Mrs. Ackerman kept saying, "I've got a nephew I need you to meet." Every time she'd try to make us a date, we had something else to do, and so they thought he would be interested in me because I had been to Rice, see, and he was in the Navy, and he came to Austin, and they tried to get us a blind date, but I was busy, and so anyway. We would have met eventually. It was just one of those things.
Okay. So you moved to Dallas.
I moved to Dallas.
And what did you do? I know you got busy right away.
Well, I joined Hadassah, Edna Weinberger, and Sarah Sussman. Those were the older women. I could name some other, Mrs. Sablasky, and I knew all of them. Bess Cohen, Gaius Goldman, I could tell you some funny stories,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
okay. Tell us a funny story.
Well, I was at the sisterhood meeting with my mother-in-law, and in the back, in the front, conducting the meeting is Gladys Goldman, and in the back is Bess Cohen, running the meeting from the back, as president. And those girls grew up together. And all of a sudden, Gladys says, "Bess, you are no longer president, I am president." And I thought, "Ooh, this is how these women speak to each other in their meeting, you know." I'll never forget that as long as I live. I was so shocked.
Oh, boy.
But it was different. It was just different then. It really was. But I did all the things with slept around with my mother-in-law until I made my own way. And then she was mad because I didn't join Pioneer Women or one of them. I said I belonged to Hadassah and this one and that one. And she wouldn't go to the meetings unless I took her anyway. And I said, figure let her go with her friends to a couple of them. It was good for her.
So along with that, I know you were very involved in quite a few things. Can you think of something that you're really, really proud of that you did?
Well, I'm proud of the fact that I was president of Hadassah because I never aspired to be president. I went to Houston, and my sister Golda should have been the region president or something, but she always had to work, raise a family, and she never had time to do that. And I remember sitting there crying, and she said, "You'll say yes because you're crying." They had asked me to be president because they needed me. When they needed me, honey, that's all it took. If they didn't need me, they had other women. I would be very happy for you to be president, you to be president. You didn't have to do it my way. I never wanted you to run things. I always wanted to just be a good Indian. I want to be the chief. But when I was forced to be a chief, I did it, and I'm proud of the fact that I did it. I probably wasn't a good president. I'm not a good speaker, but I did it all because I felt there was a need. And,
What were some of the things that Hadassah accomplished back then? Can you remember?
no, I think we had 100th and 50th anniversary or something.
50th,
We had,
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something really nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, some of that's just like a blur to me.
I know.
made it-
Well,
I
Beth
made-
Beth Weinberger was in charge of that one.
Yes, yes.
50.
See, I don't even remember.
I have the paperwork.
But I remember some of the difficult times I had. One woman said to me, so-and-so and so-and-so, and you just tell her you don't need her anymore. And I said to myself, but I do. I'm the president. If I tell her I don't need her anymore, I've got to do what she's doing. So I didn't say a word. Just kept my mouth shut. And that was a good lesson for me because there's a lot of that back picking stuff goes on around here with old women, you can imagine. And you got to learn to just shrug it off.
Yep.
I mean, if that's what you want to live with, fine. Some people thrive on it, but I don't like that. And now that I'm in my 90s, I certainly don't think the Almighty left me here to get worried about who said such and who did such, and I mean, little things.
Right.
I just couldn't, I never did live like that. I let them go. One woman really let me down, and I just followed through, and whatever she was in charge of, I did it. And when it was all over, my husband had surgery, she sent him and me a great big plan. I knew why she sent it, because I did what she should have done. But should I have had a fight with her over it? And she left Hadassah with a bad attitude. So I feel in a lot of ways, what I did was help with people. I'm good with people.
So tell us about your family. How did it grow?
Well, when my watch fell off, I like that. Well, I had one child for 5 years, and then God blessed me, and I had a miscarriage, which today they probably would have put me in jail for an abortion, because they had to give me two transfusions. I lost so much blood. And then they took me upstairs and did what they call a DNC, because I wouldn't lose the embryo, as little as it must have been at 2 months. They probably would have put me in jail, wouldn't it?
Maybe not.
You know, who knows? But then God blessed me, and I had 2 more children, and I had 1 miscarriage in between, and then 2 more children. And my children have been a blessing. I wouldn't tell you they're smarter or better than anybody else's children. They're not the most gorgeous. They're just good children, and they love me. And unfortunately, I lost Sandra at a too early age. I don't know how your mother makes it. Losing two, one was bad enough. Changed my life completely. I had to help raise the grandchildren and move, and just those kind of things just shouldn't happen. But they happen to somebody, and then you begin meeting more and more people. You just go to the meeting somewhere and you start to talk to somebody, and you find out they lost a child. And my grandmother was 89 when she died, and I remember her saying to me, "I'm so lucky I've never lost an adult child. When you grow to be your 80s and 90s, you lose adult children."
And what are your other kids doing?
Well, Maury is in Houston. Right now, he's not involved in any particular business. He'd been in real estate. He was a developer for a while and developed neighborhoods between Houston and Galveston. And he did some real nice things and was proud of. And he has a one grown daughter. She's not Jewish, unfortunately. But she's brought him a lot of pleasure. Her mother died, so she's brought him a lot of pleasure, and I'm glad to see that. And Donna is a freelance writer, author, speech coach, whatever. She does anything related to speech, and she's working on another book now for Jewish humor. It won't come out till next September. The publishing business is...
It's a tough one.
Yeah, she's learned a lot.
Yeah, wonderful.
But she's a good writer.
And where does she live?
She lives in Westchester County, New York, in a little town called Irvington, named for Washington Irving,
Right.
And she's really into history. I noticed when Donna got her degree, we went, and then we went to California, where she was having her first job at the San Jose Mercury News, and she would go to the county courthouse and look up, and whatever she was working on, she was always interested in history. So that book that she came out with was it was a history. Have you seen it? It's a history.
Right.
It's not a big popular novel or anything like that. It should be in every library, in every college where they teach women's subjects. And that's what she's been told, and that's her goal. She's still selling it.
Well, that's good. Wonderful.
People with libraries have bought a dozen of them. But that's who's interested in, because she wrote before each speech that she published, she wrote when the person spoke, where they were from, what was the context of the speech, and what they said, and why it was dangerous for some of them to speak. In those days, they used to put them in jail. Throw tomatoes at them was about the least that they did to them. If they spoke in front of men, they called them promiscuous.
Yeah, that's right.
And anyway, I'm real proud of her book. It's very, like I said, she'll never make a lot of money on it, but it's a very interesting book.
Yeah.
Worthwhile.
And what are your grandchildren doing?
Libby works for the New York Times advertising department. What she does, I don't know exactly. One project after another project. But she lives in New York, and she's married to a nice man who's from Boston. And
Wonderful.
she's been married since February.
Great.
She seems happy, I hope.
Yeah, wonderful.
Love to have some great grandchildren.
Yeah,
I don't
well.
have any of those.
Good. Hang on, you will.
Yeah. I don't know how long I can hang on at this rate since I moved in here. I moved in here, Maury says I was 75 going on 92. And then all of a sudden I was 94. I've had cancer, I've had a stroke, I fell twice, broke my kneecap, then broke my nose twice, and it's just changed me. I'm so used to doing things myself, and now everybody has to do everything for me. Not everything, but almost. I feel like that. I don't like being... The doctor told my daughter, your mother doesn't like being 90. I said, I guarantee I don't. I like being 75, 85. I had back surgery at 88. It was easy. I tell people, when you're in your 80s, you're young. At least I was. But not in the 90s. I'm old. I feel old.
Your life is enriched. Think
Every
of that.
time I turn around, there's something else wrong with me.
No.
Since broke his broken nose, now I get these sinus things, but they're not going to do anything for you when you're in your 90s.
No.
Especially, I look good. Everybody says you look good.
That's right.
I guess that's better than looking bad.
Speaking of that, can you think of anybody in particular who was a role model for you?
Well, Sarah Sussman was kind of, and those were the leaders in Hadassah, and the Weinbergs.
Yeah.
All couple of them were active in Hadassah. And the women in Houston, there was a woman there, I thought her name was Jenny Hadassah. She was in and out of my mother's house so much. And my aunt, of course, was Annie Leff, Sharon's
right.
grandmother.
Right.
And she was president of the Houston chapter. And I've always believed in what Hadassah does because they help the people of Israel. They really do. And it doesn't make any difference if you're Arab. Sometimes I've had people say to me, I wouldn't give any money to Hadassah because they help. The terrorists can be in the next bed. They help the people that live in Israel. And they try to make peace. And if anybody could ever make peace, they could. But I don't believe in peace anymore over there. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we're all on pins and needles.
I was in
don't
Gaza.
know.
It was beautiful. It was produce from the trees. The Palestinians were working like we would have the Mexicans working here, but they were earning a living, they were eating, they were living quiet lives. What did they need that war for?
Can't answer that.
It doesn't represent
No.
the Palestinians.
No, I know.
Anyway, it's another subject. I tell you, you know I could keep you an hour and a half
It's okay.
or 2 hours.
Did any of your kids go to, or were they involved in Young Judea?
They both, yeah,
Right.
Elliot went to your course, and Elliot went to Young Judea, and Donna went to Young Judea, went to Israel, to Tel Yehuda, and went to Israel. And matter of fact, she said when she worked in kibbutz, well, and I have a cousin that lives in, what's the name of her kibbutz? I've gotten a little bit forgetful
That's
since I had those treatments.
That's all right.
I can't think of the name of the kibbutz where she was. The one where my cousin was shot was near Oz, and that's the one I remember when he married. They said he moved to a military kibbutz because his wife lived there, and they called it a military kibbutz because it was so close to Gaza. They kept it extra security, which obviously they didn't have when that happened. But that was years ago. He was 80 years old already.
Wow.
Keturah.
Oh, the Young Judea kibbutz.
Yeah, Donna
In the
worked
south.
at Keturah.
Oh, okay.
And
Right.
she spent a year in Israel. And Elliot, my grandson, he said that was the best year of his life. Of course, it was after his mother died, and he was kind of lost, and he went on your course. And Joanne Rosenberg told me one of her grandsons told her the same thing, that was the best year of life. I said, if it only affects one child a year, it's worth it.
It's worth it, right?
Really is.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful experience.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, any last stories or anything you want to tell us?
Oh, I could tell you.
I know you have
I could
lots
tell
of
you
them.
some you wouldn't want to hear.
Oh, well,
I learned a
are they
whole lot
X-rated? Is that
I
it?
learned a lot of I learned more psychology being president of Hadassah than I did in college.
More psychology, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, working with a bunch of women can be very trying.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And some people that are really, I don't know how to describe it. They need covet. You know what covet is? I know that. I don't have to translate it for you. But they need it. And if you don't give it to them,
Yeah, yeah.
and I've never felt like that. Now, you know, when I got married, I went to meet Rabbi Olin one time. I don't remember why. And he said to me, the Gellers are royalty in Texas. And I didn't say that, but I remember it. Rabbi Olin said that to me. And of course, he was as far from our orthodoxy as he could be. Maybe Rabbi Klein was worse. Rabbi Klein, lovely man, but he didn't believe in anything religiously that I did, you know. But I don't know, there's this yearning for covet that's really made some people hard to work with in organizations. I'm sure your mother's done a lot of organization work. She would say the same thing. It's not what you do, it's who you are.
Well, maybe it's a combination of both. It's a combination.
Maybe, but I've never felt that way.
If you weren't who you were, you wouldn't have been involved in the things you were involved in.
And it was not a big deal to be the Parnas. You know what the Parnas is? We didn't, in our family, we didn't aspire to be the Parnas. We believed to be the most educated, and in some cases, the most religious. You know, that would.
Yeah.
But making money was not our goal, and that's the American dream. You know? And Mother Maria said to me, Mother, I'm so glad Daddy didn't nag us when we were kids that we should go out and get rich. He didn't. He just didn't. We weren't brought up like that.
Mhm.
And I can think of decisions my husband could have made that would have made us rich. And thank God I'm not complaining. I'm very comfortable. He took care of me. I can take care of myself. I can't take care of the world, but I can take care of myself.
That's okay.
But we just, I don't know. I'm just as happy being an Indian as I would have been if I'd never been a chief. But I am proud that I did it.
Yes. Yeah.
And I can't tell you what a bad speaker I was, but you can tell me.
Not going to say a word. Anyway, well, you've been delightful. Thank you, and I think you look wonderful.
I hope I didn't tell any secrets.
No secrets. No.
Could.
It's all good.
I could.
Thank you.
I could. I remember going to a federation meeting
Yeah.
representing Hadassah because I was president when they quit giving us money. They used to, and we decided we didn't need their money. We had to restrict our fundraising.
Mm-hmm.
And Abba Abin was coming to town, so we cut off our Big Ips affair, and they were going to make it up to us. I'm still waiting. And, well, I'm trying to think how it happened. I went to a meeting, and God bless Leah Lewis. She comes in, and she's the president of Hadassah, but I'm the president of Henrietta Zolden. We have 250 members.
Yeah. Right.
Unquote. And then somebody stood up and I mentioned Young Judea, and they said, well, what's Young Judea? Because Dallas was very, very reformed.
Mhm.
When I got married, if you would have an affair, at that time we were trying to liberate Russian Jews, and we would have a rally here. If they got 100 people, that was good. In Houston, they'd have a rally. They'd have 300 or 400 people without even trying. If they really knocked themselves out, they could get 500. And I couldn't figure out why Houston was that way and Dallas was never that way. It was a different community.
Yeah. That's true. It was.
And I was fighting not a lone battle, but there were a few of us trying to. Well, I don't know, we just didn't have, we never had enough really rich people on our side. That would, in Houston, everybody I knew belonged to Hadassah, not in Dallas. In Houston, everybody took the Jewish Herald. In Dallas, half the people I know didn't even look at the Texas Jewish Post. They had no interest in a Jewish. It was just it was hard to get used to it.
But you did.
Yeah, you got used to it and you did the best you could, but I didn't have enough power or money to do anything big. If I had more money, I'd put my name on here instead of Aaron Towers. Maybe but something. You know, it'd be nice. But I never was in that position. And not that I want to be in that position for me. I got everything I need. But I see the advantage. Of course, I think people do it for their children. Your parents have their name there for their grandchildren and their grandchildren. It's very nice, nothing wrong. But it's not what my husband didn't aspire to that. Of course, he came from people that came over here, they didn't even speak English. Your parents probably didn't, your father probably didn't. Your mother did, and she came from New York, didn't she? Oh,
She's not
okay.
here.
Excuse me, I'm
That's okay.
not aware of that.
That's okay. She's just shadowing us. Okay.
But it's changed. Dallas has really changed.
Hopefully for the better. Hopefully for the better.
Hopefully for the better.
Yes.
You know, things get better and they get worse.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the truth, I'm not a prophet and I don't claim to be. What is that, Debbie Levy, who's a Kohelet? What does that mean? Do you notice that did she take some kind of classes or something? I don't know. But anyway, I'm not a prophet. But I have studied Jewish history on my own from the 4th century on. And I have a pretty good picture of what Jews have lived with through the centuries. And whenever the Jewish head of whoever they looked up to for their leaders have fought, something has happened. If it comes from heaven, I don't know where it comes from. But I had this dread in my mind, and look what happened. I swear to you, I had a dread in my mind. I wouldn't even express it to anybody. They'd think you're crazy, that something's going to happen. And it happened. And I don't know how they're going to get out of this. If Israel comes back to Gaza, it's going to be the same damn thing over again. Somebody will ask them to leave. They'll leave. Not in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I just can't figure it out. Meanwhile, I'm lucky I'm in a good place. I know people who have relatives who would like to move in here who can't afford it. It's too expensive. And I really wish that it were not so expensive. They spend a lot of money downstairs here that didn't do much for your daily life, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And they're
It is a
proud-
lovely place to be. It's a lovely place to be here.
Yeah, and they're proud of it. They bring people in and show them, and they're proud of it.
Yeah. Well, I hope you continue to live a good, long life and enjoy your life here at the Legacy.
I don't do
And
anything. I moved in here and I
That's
don't
okay.
do
That's
anything. Marty said, Mother, you used to multitask.
Yeah.
You used to make telephone calls for Hadassah and do this and that.
We don't have anything going on right
I
now.
don't do anything.
It's okay.
I don't do anything. I've been taking care of me, I guess is enough.
That's enough.
I
Yeah,
guess.
that's good.
But it doesn't seem like it's enough. It seems like, I always did something. I didn't do a lot. You know what I did. I did what I could.
Yeah,
I
you
was
did.
never a dynamic speaker, was never a dynamic leader, but I did what was necessary when they needed me.
That's right. Okay.
You spread yourself thin, really
Yeah.
all over. I don't know how you do it. I couldn't do that. I did a lot of things for the sisterhood,
Yeah.
and I did a couple of things for the Council of Jewish Women. And who else? My mother-in-law wanted me to join Mizrahi. I never did, because if I joined, honey, she would never go with anybody else. She would wait for me, and I figured let her go with her friends to Mizrahi. That's fine.
Yeah.
I belong to, this is the Dallas Jewish Historical Society. See, I belonged to this, and then after a while I quit because I said, I didn't grow up in Dallas. I belong to the Texas Jewish Historical.
That's okay.
Donna belonged to this when she first got married, when she first lived and got out of school and lived here.
Yeah, it's a good organization.
And Ginger asked me to work on that book. And I didn't want to work on that book. And I'm glad I didn't. Because some of the people that they interviewed I thought were lovely people. But I don't know why they interviewed them. They didn't do a darn thing.
They interviewed, Rose Biederman did her homework. She gathered a lot of information.
Rose was good, but
Yeah.
I didn't. And then they've asked me to do some interviews. And that Ruth Anderson, she went, oh, you won't do them? You said no. I said, no, I don't want to do an interview.
Okay. Well, now you have, so thank you.